You guys asked, so I'm going to deliver with part 2 of my 1960s picks. I'm going to show you 5 more records from the 1960s that I love, and you'll probably love too. Let's start off again with the Beatles, because you can't really talk about the 1960s without talking about the Beatles. I told you Abbey Road was probably my favorite, but it's arguable, and you know what? That argument comes by the name of Revolver. Revolver is an album that came out before Abbey Road, and this was kind of marking the beginning of their really psychedelic experimental sound that George Harrison brought them once he learned the sitar and learned the wonders of world music. Most people that talk about the Beatles, they love Sgt. Pepper, they love White Album, they love Abbey Road. Those are usually the people's favorite, top 3. Revolver does not get enough love. This album has a lot of songs people know, like Taxman, Eleanor Rigby, Yellow Submarine, but there are some songs on here that are just beautiful, and they deserve recognition in the same way that some of the Beatles' top of their catalog deserve. I'm talking about I'm Only Sleeping, Here, There, and Everywhere, and Your Bird Can Sing, which is one of my personal favorite songs by the Beatles. Dr. Robert, Got to Get You Into My Life, Tomorrow Never Knows. This album is a hits album, and it's full of sleeper hits that, unless you're a big fan of the Beatles, you might not have heard these songs. So they didn't get a ton of radio play, and the funny thing is, when Revolver came out in America, the vinyl issue of it was missing like 5 of the best songs. 4 or 5, I don't remember exactly how many. But some of those songs I just mentioned were not there on the US pressing, only the UK. So I made sure to track down a UK pressing because I had to have those songs. I had to get them into my life. They had to be here, there, and everywhere. Alright, I'm done with the dumb jokes. Revolver. If you don't know Revolver, make sure you put this on your radar because Revolver is a terrific album from the 60s that doesn't get enough love. Up next, again, the poet, Bob Dylan, with Blonde on Blonde, an ambitious double album before double albums were really a big thing. Now, I need a new copy because this cover is a little beat and the disc itself isn't bad. It's probably VG+, but it needs to be perfect because this album demands perfection, because it kind of is. This album has big songs like Visions of Joanna, I Want You, Memphis Blues Again, Just Like a Woman. But the song on here that doesn't get enough credit is the final song, Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands. That is a beautiful, soft ballad that I think encapsulates some of the best stuff Bob Dylan has ever written. This is a huge, like I said, double album, and many people consider this to be Bob's best album. Arguable. It might be. It's definitely top 3 without a doubt. But Blonde on Blonde is certainly a masterpiece. And here's the top. It's like, if you have it all out, it's just him with his coat. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of Bob Dylan. I grew up on him. He was constantly in my house, my dad's favorite artist, and because of that, one of my favorite artists. Blonde on Blonde, this is a must-own as well, and definitely familiarize yourself if you don't know it. I was lucky enough at Amoeba about 2 years ago to find this on their wall for a very modest price. This was the US first pressing of the Zombies' self-titled debut album. Now, over in the UK, it was called Begin Here, and that was actually a similar album with a slightly altered track list. But over here, it basically contained their hits, and the big songs that everyone knows from this are She's Not There and Tell Her No, which is the beginning of side A and B, respectively. This album is so damn good. If you like early Beatles and that kind of like slightly psychedelic but still just straightforward pop songs from like the 50s and 60s, the Zombies are for you. And of course their follow-up album, Odyssey and Oracle, took a much more psychedelic twist, and that has stuff like Time of the Season and things that are really kind of edgy for the time. This is very straightforward, solid, just 5 dudes playing some good music. And you know what? I saw them live maybe 2 years ago at the Santa Monica Pier. They still sound just like they did in the 60s. Those voices have not faltered, and good for them. In good condition, this record fetches a pretty fair price, so the fact that I got it for about $25 and it's super clean, this was probably a misprice that I definitely capitalized on. So, love the Zombies. Good to own. As I took out this next one, I realized the bottom is kind of, ungluing itself a bit, which is why I kept the record out of it. This is an early pressing, I believe early US pressing, of The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, which is the first album by Pink Floyd, or on this it says The Pink Floyd, which is kind of cool. Pink Floyd, before they became the Pink Floyd everybody knows, with Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here and The Wall and all those huge albums, had a member called Syd Barrett, and if you don't know his story, it is remarkable. It's crazy. He was a psychedelic mastermind in the 60s, and he was able to come up with some of these unbelievable tunes that are just so out there, like Matilda Mother and Interstellar Overdrive, See Emily Play. Just really weird, trippy, great stuff. And he went a little crazy, took a little too much acid, and he kind of went MIA, off the radar, and he disappeared, and the band didn't see him for a very long time, and down the road he passed away, which of course is tragic. But Pink Floyd has two distinct eras. There's the Syd Barrett era, and then there's everything after. So Pink Floyd's first two albums are great. They're kind of hard to find early pressings of. This sleeve has seen better days. I gotta actually glue the bottom of the sleeve because it is coming a little undone. But the disc is super clean. I was so excited to find this. I mean, it plays beautifully, and a disc this clean would probably go for 3-4 times what I paid for it. I believe I paid about 20 bucks for it, which another Amoeba probably underpricing, which is the reason I go to Amoeba all the time, to find those beautiful deals. But if you like Pink Floyd and you haven't heard the early stuff, you must give a listen, because you might be surprised of how interesting and unique it is, especially for the era. And finally, I have to mention another band that I truly enjoy, the Rolling Stones. This is their album Beggar's Banquet. Another album where some of it sounds like it should have definitely came out in the 70s. The fact that this is music that people were making back in the 60s kind of blows my mind when you compare it to the other stuff coming out around this time. Beggar's Banquet has a lot of good songs, but I think the two strongest songs, of course, are the start of A and B, which, you know, was a strategy back in the day. You have A-side start with a big hit, B-side start with a big hit to make you want to flip it and make sure you listen to the whole album. Smart tactic. Opens with one of my favorite songs, my favorite Rolling Stones song, Sympathy for the Devil. That is such a weird, satanic, demonic, trippy, poppy song that I can't believe that came out in the 60s. It is so punk rock for the 60s. It really is. And then Street Fighting Man, another really, really good song. But this whole album is just Rolling Stones in their prime. I think that this is one of the best albums they put out, easily top 3 for me. And cool story about this record, this specific copy of this record, DJ Shadow, awesome DJ, had a sale in Los Angeles where he was actually selling some of his copies of his extra records or records he didn't listen to anymore, including some rarities of his own collection where I picked up some cool things there. He had a copy of Beggar's Banquet for sale for 10 bucks, and it was one of his personal copies. I don't know if he's used this to mix anything. I don't know if he just sat back and listened to it with his friends. I don't know, but this was DJ Shadow's personal copy of Beggar's Banquet, and now it is mine. So thank you, DJ Shadow, for passing this on to me. I will be listening to this for years to come. Part 2. Wasn't that easy? I hope you guys liked all the records I picked. There's a lot more from the 60s that I have over there in that shelf that I have not shown you, so maybe a part 3 beckons if you guys would like it. Let me know what records I still haven't talked about. Maybe I will be talking about them in part 3. Also, let me know if you liked any of the picks that I had and why you liked them. Tell me some of your favorite tracks. If you like this video, you know what to do. Thumbs up, please subscribe. More videos coming to you, as you know, very soon, so get ready.